Picture this. It's 7:30 p.m. on a Monday in Columbus, Ohio. Most people are winding down for the evening, putting their kids to bed or resting up for another workday. But for musicians, the night is just beginning. At Boulevard Presbyterian Church in Grandview Heights, the doors are open and the music is swinging loud with the famous jazz orchestra. Since 1997, the famous jazz orchestra has been a cornerstone of the Columbus jazz scene. It's had many homes over the years, but one thing has never changed: its fearless leader. At the front of the band with his trombone in hand is the legendary Vaughn Weister. Welcome back to another episode of The Bonecast, where we talk all things trombone with the people who love it most. Today, we'll dive into the story of a local jazz trombone legend and explore how Vaughn Weister continues to shape the Columbus jazz scene with his famous jazz orchestra. Columbus has always been involved with jazz culture since the beginning. Touring legends often stop by on their way to bigger cities like Chicago, performing in iconic venues such as the Valleydale Ballroom. From the 1920s through the 1960s, Mount Vernon Avenue and Long Street, known locally as the Avenue and the Block, were hubs for live music. Musicians like Duke Ellington and Lionel Hampton played at the Lincoln Theater, while neighborhood bars, nightclubs, and churches gave locals a place to learn and innovate. Sidewalk plaques outside the Lincoln Theater honor stars such as Nancy Wilson, Rusty Bryant, Hank Marr, and Harry Sweets Edison, a reminder of our city's musical heritage. Columbus jazz thrived not only in performance, but also in community and education. In 1973, the Jazz Arts Group was founded at Capital University to give local musicians a platform for high-level performances. The group evolved into the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, performing at the restored Southern Theater as a national-caliber ensemble. Today, local jazz continues to grow in Columbus. Professional groups like A Tribe for Jazz and Use Your Ears Columbus work either in tandem with Jazz Arts Group or create their own educational programs to bring jazz into different spaces. Student groups like Capital University's Jazz Outreach Society and OSU's Jazz Club keep jazz alive on college campuses. Swing Columbus offers dance classes, while community jam sessions at Park Street help teach this art form to the next generation. And then there's the famous jazz orchestra. For many older audience members, it's a place to relive the glory days. If you look around, you'll notice an interesting contrast of generations. Seasoned fans with graying hair, remembering the nights when jazz filled every corner of the city, sitting alongside younger listeners discovering this music for the first time. Sprinkled among them are students and young professionals. They come to network with the musicians, listen closely, and maybe even sit in with the ensemble. It's an opportunity to practice sight reading, improvisation, and ensemble skills. Rare chances to engage with an art form that has fewer teaching spaces today. To understand what this ensemble means to the next generation of musicians, I spoke with two Capital University students, Lucas Reitz and Kyson Orrick.
My name is Lucas Reitz. I am a third year at Capital University, and my major is music education. I first saw FJO at the Valleydale Ballroom the summer before my senior year or my freshman year at Capital. I was playing with the David Schubach Big Band, and I saw FJO, and I was like, that's cool. And my dad, who was there, he was like, that was my jazz professor at Capital. So that's when I first learned of Vaughn, and then I met him the next summer at the same event before my sophomore year at Capitol.
Have you had the chance to play with or for the famous jazz orchestra yet?
I've never sat in with FJO yet. I would like to. Playing at the Women's Club, that was a lot of fun. I don't have anything like that where I'm from, and it's cool that there's just something like that every week in Columbus.
Do you think having groups like FJO around influences younger musicians and students?
Oh, for sure. Playing in the jazz scene here at Columbus, whether it's for FJO, Rick Brunetto, or the Jazz Arts Group even, there's a lot of connections, and that makes it easy to get involved and grow as a player. That's why I think Columbus is just a great scene for jazz.
My name is Kyson Orrick. I'm a student at Capitol University in my final year, so my fourth year, in the music industry program. I started playing when I was 12 years old. The reason I picked up jazz is because of the people I saw at my high school and in my area that were in the program. When I was a senior in high school, I had the opportunity to play in the Rick Brunetto Big Band, and I sat in on second chair, and Vaughn was playing lead that night. He didn't even bring up his orchestra, which is crazy. Now that I look back at that, I'm like, wow, he's very humble, I guess, for doing that.
That is pretty humble. What was it like hearing FJO and then getting the chance to play with them?
The vibe right away is like levels above any college ensemble I've ever been in that it was so professional that I was at first a little taken aback, but once you kind of settled into the vibe, it was very refreshing and comfortable. Playing there, I don't even know, it's almost indescribable. It's akin to playing your first concert ever.
Absolutely. Would you say your experience playing in these ensembles has helped you grow as a musician?
I would say that most of my growth comes from me as a professional and me as a human being, but my progression as a musician is very fast tracked by being in those ensembles and watching them perform. The first time I played Rick's band, it was kind of a wake up call. It made me realize that these older people are so serious about music, but can also still have fun. And then even now, watching musicians perform in FJO and Rick Brunetto's band, it's totally different.
For student musicians like Lucas and Kyson, FJO represents both inspiration and aspiration. Behind that inspiration are the FJO players themselves. They range from recent music school graduates, professors, and even supercommuters traveling from other cities. They play for $10 for a 2.5-hour performance, a modest sum that doesn't even begin to cover gas or time. But for them, it's never been about the money.
My name is Jeff Banyatz. I'm the bass trombone player for the famous jazz orchestra, and during the day, I'm a project manager for a commercial audio-video company.
When did you first start playing trombone?
When I was a freshman in high school, they gave me a Conn 62H like baby bass trombone, and trombone professor from Ohio State, Joe Ducci, came out to do a clinic for the band camp. He looks around the room, he looks at my horn, and he says, "Ooh, it's nice to see a bass trombone." And I was like, bass trombone?
How did you first get involved with the famous jazz orchestra? And when did you first meet Vaughn?
Oh, I met Vaughn when I was in high school because that's when I started playing out in town. I started playing in Rick Brunetto's band first, then I played at both Capitol and Ohio State at the same time in both orchestras, both trombone choirs, both jazz bands. Even though I went to Ohio State, I had a lot of friends at Capitol. I mean, I essentially met Vaughn when I was probably 17 or 18 years old, so I've known him my entire life.
What has performing in FJO meant to you personally and professionally?
Personally, I get to play with people that I've known for 30 years. I started playing in the band. There wasn't technically famous jazz orchestra. Vaughn just had bands every once in a while. And so I played bass trombone in that, and then I played tuba in the 90s as well before I left for Chicago. Then when I came back, I started playing tuba again in the band. And then finally, I've been on bass trombone now for I think 7 years. So it's like coming home. I've known Matt, John, Ben, and Eric, and all these guys in the band for like 30 years. And so it's just nice to be able to play with people.
Is that what keeps you coming back each Monday night?
I don't really think about it. I just know that I'm going to be here on Monday nights and that we'll probably have a good time. When I first started, I usually played big band 5 nights a week. Played in Rick's band, New Remnants, Jazz to Go. A lot of those other bands have fallen by the wayside, but Vaughn's band, once he settled into playing at the Columbus Music Hall, that started this whole thing of a weekly band. Other than Rick Brunetto, I don't think anybody else has played weekly for as long in Columbus. The longevity comes from consistency of people know that they're going to be able to find us on Monday night.
My name is Matt Ellis. I play the jazz chair, the second trombone chair, a coveted position. So I don't have to work so hard as the lead chair, and I get to blow most of the jazz. Right now, I am in my final years as a music education rep for Music and Arts, which is great. Get to help band programs right in Central Ohio area and foster more trombone players.
Thank you, Matt. When did you first start playing trombone, and what drew you to jazz trombone?
My dad heard a recording of Buddy Morrow playing Night Train, and he said, "Hey, that's what you're going to play, the trombone." I still can't play like Buddy Morrow, but I did get to share the stage with him several times over the years, which was kind of cool. That big trombone sound, kind of barrel house sound, always attracted me to the trombone. So that, and I had a good high school band director who was really into jazz, Jerry Robinson. And he formed a little group with 3 trumpets, 1 trombone, and a rhythm section. And from there, we took that little high school group and made it into like a performing ensemble. So that's what really started the whole thing.
That's such a great start. I think so many people trace their beginning as a musician back to a teacher or a special family member. So, how did you first get involved with the Famous Jazz Orchestra, and when did you meet Vaughn?
When I went to Capitol, I met Vaughn. He was teaching his very first classes. He taught jazz history and the third band. I didn't really know very much. If you threw a rock around my house, you'd probably hit a banjo player. Right from the start, I took a trombone lesson, which was really a terrible trombone lesson, but he just inspired me. From like, hey man, learn how to do this. Play your major scales from like the lowest note to the highest note. He always was an encourager. The Capitol experience was a game changer and set me on a path to always want to get better. I was never the hot shot, never the star player, but I had a passion to keep learning for it. Most of the great players didn't have a preconceived notion of what they were going to play. They were like, well, when the first note comes out, you'll know what the second note is. The biggest thing is you have to learn how to play your horn. Vaughn's really big on, okay, do a major scale in fourths, do it in sixths, do it in sevenths. I dare you to just like say, okay, I want to play C major scale in sevenths and see if that falls easy on your hand and your ear.
Right. Taking something that feels really hard and making it approachable.
Right. And then you're not stumped.
Exactly. What has it been like performing with FJO?
Well, there's a lot of people that like go to the gym every day, do some physical activity. Playing jazz is a physical activity. Playing in a big band is a physical activity. This is my workout. And Vaughn keeps us intellectually stimulated. The book is so big. There's a couple of those tunes that we haven't played in probably 3 years. It's almost sight reading all the time, even though you kind of know what's coming, but it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Soloistically, his changes are not basic. If you stand up to take a solo in Vaughn's band, you're going to have a lot of changes to try to deal with. So it's a challenge, and that's what keeps it fun. Once the band learns a tune, we pretty much have it, and we'll be able to call it back up and make a pretty good attempt at making it happen. The other thing with Vaughn is he's well-versed in classical as well as he is jazz, maybe more in classical than he is in jazz. He knows all the classical material and can call it up at any time. He's a guy that if at 2 o'clock in the morning you want to hear some 12-tone rows, you can call him up and go to his house and he'll have it, and then he'll play it. He'll be able to pull out the record and play it, and they'll say, well, man, but you should hear what happens 10 years later when Bernstein got a hold of it. And then he'll pull out the score, and you can sit there and study. He is a Renaissance man. It's been a real treat to be immersed in Vaughn for all these years.
It sounds like Vaughn's influence goes beyond just his playing. You've had the chance to teach and perform alongside so many musicians who've come up through his band. What's it been like watching that next generation come to life?
So there are a lot of different trombone players that have come up and through the band and headed on to do other great things. It's great to have that connection. When I was teaching, it was all about creating people that could play with me on big band gigs later on. As a matter of fact, my biggest fan is Vaughn. He comes to almost all my private gigs. If he's not in the band, he's usually in the audience.
Aw. It really sounds like a collaborative environment, especially now when the music world can sometimes feel so competitive. FJO seems more focused on building each other up.
Vaughn made a very wise decision. Take the money out of the scene. We get $10 a night. That's nothing. So by him doing that, everybody that's on the bandstand is not here for money. They're here to play. They're here to perform. That changes the game right there.
Very true. You've seen the Columbus jazz scene evolve and change so much over the years. How do you think FJO keeps jazz alive?
Oh, because it's a training ground for going out into the big world. I think having Famous Jazz as kind of a benchmark of this is what a band can sound like, this is what a band should sound like. Young adults, they come up and play and they get to feel what a really good section feels like, the energy behind it, the feel when we play a tutti together. We're all using the same tonguing, we're all using the same amount of air, and it's pretty well balanced within the band. That's something to feel, especially if you've never felt it before. Jazz can be one of those things where, who are we trying to please? Are we trying to please ourselves? Are we trying to please the other musicians? Are we trying to show off our skills? Are we trying to show off our new lick? There are people that are givers and there are people that are takers. Vaughn is a giver. And I think that what we're doing here on a Monday night makes us all givers.
After all that insight, it's time to officially introduce the person this episode is about. Vaughn, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
It's an honor to be asked.
Wait, she's ending the episode here? Well, in the interest of time, I decided to split this episode into 2 parts. So here's the deal. This is part 1 of 614 Swing, Vaughn and his FJO. In honor of the Famous Jazz Orchestra playing every Monday night, I've turned this episode into a 2-day headliner. This coming Monday, you'll hear Vaughn's full interview, and trust me, it's worth the wait. Think of it like a 5-minute set break. Stretch your legs, grab some water, and come back later for part 2. Until then, thanks for listening to the Bonecast.